Chapter 1, July 23rd, 2018. The Coldest War. Let us be clear and agree as a people that it is time to remove the films of arrogance and greed from our eyes, and together with bravery take a hard look at the supposition that America came out on top at the end of the Cold War. Accept instead that there was no end and the spoils of that lie have gone to the oligarchs and the corrupt. That the Coldest War began with the dissolution of the USSR and the foreseeable deep resentments of the Russian leadership and displaced powers that resulted. The defeat came only when the opulent and unethical wealth of America outpaced theirs, a convenient explanation for propaganda, and thus there was no justice in the dissolution of the Soviet bloc, the revocation of their unquestioned authority, and the polluting descent of Western consumerism upon their people, an example of democracy limping sickly into the next millennium. Victory was declared in America, and in answer, a crimson vendetta was born in the heart of Russians as their empire fell. Our hubris has left us behind, and now sorely outmatched in a battle of endurance, patience, and strategy on a terrain of emotional ice and frost, where survival necessitates severity as much as a social cohesion that is cemented with an unassailable expectation of personal sacrifice. We abandoned the Russian people to the wolves, and winter has arrived. Only the unity of our peoples, buttressing our wills and influence, can save us all of us, Americans and Russians, as humans deserving of dignity, community, and self-determination. We are more kin than we are separate. We suffer our governments in loyalty to our homes, and while we know little of each other now, we can without a doubt learn from each other's strengths, heal our weaknesses, and set the stage for a global society where the decadent are tempered by the austere, and the restrained will break their bonds as we unshackle each other from the oppressors who subdue and rob us. The politicians, the oligarchs, the corporations, the obscenely wealthy, and all other gluttons of power. There is enough for us, for our countries to exchange resources and ideas and support. But we cannot have these things until we, the American people, take accountability for abandoning our allies for their beliefs, beating them down and claiming victory by trampling the bones of their economy. We must apologize to the Russian people, offer them our hand, and ask that they join our family of persons seeking self-determination and fairness and liberty. Both our societies are sick. We are slaves to our institutions. So let us once again fight for freedom against the forces of fascism, side by side in the trenches of the global environment. We have died in the hundreds of thousands together. Our blood and kin are buried together, where they laid down their lives to defeat the Nazis across the soils of Europe. The generation between our grandparents and ours may have failed us, but it is time for this generation to stretch around the world, to find our voice and to remove our inept governors from their positions so we can finally disallow the abuse and unacceptable mechanisms of control. Respect. It is not a question of the respect between politicians, but the respect between peoples. For an American leader to gratuitously exalt a dangerous dictator is a grave betrayal to the Russian people and a show of disrespect unbecoming of the American people. It is an undeserved insult to any of our global neighbors that our leader would applaud oppression. So I reach across the great oceans and continents that divide us to address the Russian people by the manner that connects us and request you please tell us how to help you, what you want and need. Perhaps I am ignorant of the magnitude of malice that must be overcome, but I will fire up hope. I will lead by example. I will be advocate for all peoples, because even those who gravely distrust and dislike the path that will lead us down, they are nonetheless part of the American family, and we must hold on to and drag our family into the future out of love for them, kicking and screaming if necessary. And winter has arrived. Only the We have died in the hundreds of thousands together. Our blood and kin are buried together, where they laid down their lives to the defeat. For an American leader to gratuitously exalt a dangerous dictator is a grave. Okay. So I reach across the great oceans and continents that divide us to address the Russian people So I will lead by example. I will be advocate for all peoples, because even those whom gravely distrust and dislike the path I will lead us down, They are nonetheless part of the American family, and must hold on to and drag our family into the future out of our love for them, kicking and screaming if necessary. I will lead by example. I will be advocate for all peoples, because even those whom gravely distrust and dislike the path I will lead us down, they are none. Oh. I will lead by example. I will be advocate for all peoples, because even those whom. This ain't gonna work. I will lead by. Pause.